I think everybody, regardless of their ability, should have the option to being paid work. Absolutely everyone.
Welcome to Unemployable, the podcast, where we strive to inspire and amplify disabled voices in the business landscape. I'm your host, Sarah Sadia, and in each episode, we delve into the powerful stories of disabled business owners, aiming to challenge and reshape perceptions about disability and entrepreneurship. These stories are not just tales of overcoming obstacles, they are inspiring lessons that pave the way for more inclusive environments for everyone. Together, we'll document the diverse journeys of those who are proving that being unemployable couldn't be further from the truth. Our mission is to ensure that future generations of entrepreneurs with a disability are seen, heard, and celebrated. So let's jump in and explore what's possible. Now, I had to read that out because it's the first time I've ever said that out loud on a podcast. So that was good practice for me. But today I am with the beautiful Kylie Crambrook from MyPower Foundations. And just a little bit of a disclosure, Kylie and I have known each other for over 30 years now.
Yes.
Over 30 years.
That's scary to say.
Because that's 30 years since we finished high school. I shouldn't say that out loud too many times too. And also we have worked really, really, really closely together for the last 7-ish years, I think.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we do know each other really well. But when I was starting this podcast and talking about having disabled business people on board and talking about their businesses that they have started and created, the very first person I thought of was Kylie Crambrook. 1, because she's such an inspirational human. 2, because she's an amazing friend. And 3, because she has created from scratch the most incredible business model for as a disability support worker model in the Blue Mountains and in our local area, which has created so much opportunity for other people with a disability to be working alongside her, as well as carers and others working for her as well. So welcome, Kylie. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you're really nervous.
Yes, but it is very exciting too. And it's a privilege to be able to be one of the first.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm really, really grateful to have you here. And on your birthday, no less. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm sure you could have thought of more fun things to do than work some more on your birthday, but I'm really grateful that we could make this time to be here.
Oh, look, I think being at work has made it part of what's been so special. There's been so many lovely messages from everyone that works with us, and it's been beautiful. It's been nice.
Well, that's really good. I'm glad. Okay, so I'm going to start right back from the beginning, and I'm going to ask you for a little bit of information about you. I know that you have a condition that affects your mobility, it affects your pain levels and chronic pain. Do you feel comfortable talking a little bit about that with us?
Absolutely. So back in my teenage years, I was always being told to stand up straight. Don't slouch and stand up straight, and you've got to stand up. So after a few years, my parents finally decided to take me to a specialist where I was diagnosed with Scheuermann's disease.
And what is Scheuermann's disease? Because I know I hear about it a lot, and I know I've seen the pictures. But what does it mean exactly?
So Scheuermann's disease is where your bones don't calcify and go hard enough. And so what happens is you've got the little squares in your spine, and then because they're not calcified and hard enough, they slowly over time turn into wedges, triangles. So that gives you a hunch in your back. It also pulls on all your muscles and does funny things to nerves and does a lot of things like that. Back then, the treatment was to be stuck in a back brace 16 hours a day, which I got to wear at school, which was so much fun.
I remember that. Yeah.
I used to have to be dragged under the demountables by my friends when it was raining because I couldn't crawl under there. I'd have to lay down and be dragged under backwards.
Well, that's handy though, like an extra handle, I guess. That's something.
Exactly right. Now the treatment is totally different. And instead of being told to not move and not use your muscles, you're encouraged to go to PT and learn how to use your muscles to keep your body healthy.
That makes so much more sense, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's an invisible thing in that people don't see how much pain you're actually in.
Mm.
They don't see that there's anything wrong. You just have a bit of a hunchback. And
Yeah.
it's also not recognised as a disability where you qualify to go onto the NDIS or disability
Okay.
support
I
pension.
didn't
There's a
realize
lot of
that.
people, a lot of people in some of the support groups I'm in have tried to get disability support pension, have tried to get onto NDIS. One or two have managed with a huge fight, but it's not recognised.
I'm guessing that would depend on the level of impact on their functional capacity. Is that
It,
right?
it would, but there are a lot of people who haven't been able to get on who can barely do anything in a day and on an enormous amount of pain relief to
Oh my
try to
goodness.
help, and it doesn't. So
Uh, is it because it's considered medical?
I guess so, yes, but it does impact your function.
Of course it does. Yeah, of course. How did it impact you? What was the impact on you and your life? What has been the experience for you?
I've had so many different. The pain is the main impact for me. So some days I'm fine and I can do things. I still have pain, but I can manage it and it's not a problem. And I can do quite physical stuff some days still too.
Yeah.
Some days I'm in so much pain I can barely move or I can't get out of bed. More recently, I'm finding if I sit down at the end of the day on the couch where it's the most comfortable for my back, when I go to stand up, everything's sort of out of line and it pulls on my feet and I can't walk properly. So
Right.
regardless of whether I've done a lot that day or a little that day.
Okay. Yeah.
So it
And
does have a huge impact.
yeah, obviously, as with anything that's kind of chronic, is there some days worse than others?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some days are really, really, really challenging to get anything done or even to sit in the office for the amount of hours I have to. And some days I get up and I can do everything. Even though there's pain there, I can do everything.
Yeah.
So, and those days are great because you can get out and you can do some gardening and you can, you can get the things done that need to get done.
That's the roller coaster, right? But also they're the days that people look at you and go, "Are you sure that you've got a disability?" Because they see the good days and not the bad days, or they
Correct.
don't understand how they can be for happening good and bad days to the same person, right?
Yeah. And also different things that you can and can't do. Like I can drag heavy logs for hours, but I can't vacuum and mop because of the angle that my back's at when I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've often spent days vacuuming on my hands and knees because
Oh,
it's a
goodness.
comfortable way. I can't stand. I can walk, but I can't stand for long periods. So I often end up in a circle of people talking where I'm crouching on the ground
Yeah.
because it's much more comfortable for me and much less painful.
Hilariously, I was just thinking when you and Kylie and I are always saying we're like exact opposite beings, like the yin and yang that just work really well together. Your spine, the in-between parts of your spine are spongy and move, and mine are the opposite. They're overcalcified and are actually turned to arthritis that are solid. So even our spines are the exact opposite of each other. Just gave me a bit
And
of a
that
giggle.
is why we've done so well for so many years together.
Exactly. You need very different people to have different perspective on things. Well, okay,
Correct.
well, coming along to work now, how has being somebody that lives with chronic pain and has these kind of injuries managed in employment and work and life over before you started your business?
Okay, so in the early years, it was okay. I had a headache every day, but I managed that, and that was from I found out later going to the gym. But I could still mostly work fine. As the years went on, it got a bit harder, and then I started doing one-to-one support work, and that was fine for a while. But then I started injuring my back a lot more, and I also had to give up things like I said, vacuuming and mopping and things like that that really sort of interfered with my pain.
Mhm.
So that made it very challenging
Yeah.
to be out there face to face all the time, depending on what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And as the years have sort of progressed, it has become more challenging to be doing physical stuff all day, every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Understandable. So what was it that brought you to want to start your own business? Like what made you say, hey, this is what I'm going to do now? And this is something that I really want for myself and for my life.
This is where you come in a great deal.
I'm pretty bossy for the record and I can't take full responsibility.
So I started off, as you know, with you as my manager, brand new to the field, working for a large company who I never heard from. I could have been doing anything with this client. And I was thinking, where's the oversight? How do they know what I'm doing? How do they know that I'm not abusing this person? Like, it's only because I have strong values that
Okay.
I knew that I wasn't, but how did they know? How did they know? Where were the check-ins? What was going on?
And for the record, this is an Australia-wide major large disability
Correct.
support agency. Yeah.
Correct. And I had those check-ins while you were there, but you left after a month and left me there by myself.
Sorry about that. Again, I'm really sorry.
Then I had some people I knew approach me when they found out that I did support work and asked if I could work for them. And I obviously came to you because you had so many years of experience and you pushed me all the way and encouraged me to start my own business, and I did. And I never regretted that. I loved it. I loved the clients I worked with. I loved the experiences I had with them. I loved to see them grow and progress. Like, that was fantastic. And then I just didn't have any hours left for what they wanted out of me. And then once again in walked Sarah.
Again, really, really bossy.
You need to start bringing people on board. And I'm like, I can't do that. And you say, yes, you can.
You can do anything, Kylie. You can do anything.
So we started down that path, and a week later, I believe it was a week later, that you came and knocked on my door.
I think it was a week later that I checked in that job that I had and said, I'm coming to work with you.
And I said, yes, please.
Lucky you said yes. Hey, otherwise this podcast would be a very different story.
And I have been so grateful to have you walking alongside me on this journey. There's so much that would not have happened without you, and I wouldn't be where I am today without you.
No, I disagree. I think this is always where you've meant to be. I think you just needed somebody to say, you absolutely can do this. You absolutely can do this. So tell me about MyPower Foundations. Now, I know all about MyPower Foundations because I've been working alongside you in this for a really long time. But for those that don't know, give us the story of MyPower Foundations. Who is MyPower Foundations? What do they do? Who works there? How many people have you got? What does MyPower Foundations look like?
So we have about 60 staff members now. We started off with just yourself and myself, and then a couple of other people that came and jumped on board with us. And we started off with everyone as independent contractors, and we grew and grew and grew, and then realised that we were having people as independent contractors who just did not want to go and work anywhere else or get their own clients. So
they were working basically as employees, even though they didn't have to.
Absolutely. And so we couldn't carry that model anymore. So big change comes along, and we start employing people as staff. We still have a couple of contractors who are working for other people or who have their own clients, and that's fine too. We're quite happy to be flexible in that area. We've had to go through a name change. So we started off as Better Life Support, and we couldn't trademark that. So we put it to a vote. And then we came up with MyPower Foundations.
The whole team were on board with making the name MyPower Foundations. There was a vote, there was everything.
Yes. And MyPower Foundations is so big on choice for people, and we want people involved. We want people to be able to have a say in how things are going and what's happening, and not just staff, but clients as well. And we want people to be able to be flexible in their work. We want clients to be able to be flexible in what their needs are. So we are very flexible and allow people to have the hours that they feel they need for their families, that they feel that they need for other things going on in their life, so that they can have a work-life balance.
And what's the primary, what is the primary work that you do?
So we provide individual support. So that might be personal care, that might be tasks around the house that need doing, it might be skill building for people. We've recently been lucky enough to be able to start helping people build their own businesses because Visible is going so well.
And MyPower Foundation support workers have been really supportive with the Visible program. It's actually one of MyPower Foundation support workers that is working alongside my son in his business, helping him with his business too. So I'm very grateful.
Correct. And I'm hoping to expand on that, actually. I have been looking at local markets and things like that, where we can sort of let people know who we are, but also sell things that the clients are making if they choose to through Visible, and then sort of letting people know, hey, these people are really good at what they do. You know, they're artists. They create amazing stuff.
They are.
Yep, absolutely. So that's something I'd like to look at. Getting there, it's on the list.
Yeah, on the big long list of things to do when you're in business. Okay,
Yes.
well, that speaking of the list, what are some of the challenges that you've faced with running your own business and managing your pain, running your own business and having a family? What are some of the biggest challenges that you've had with that?
Look, I would say probably the work-life balance for myself would be.
It's not real anyway. Nobody actually has that. There's a work like you juggle it, and sometimes it tips one way or sometimes it tips the other way. But the myth is that there is a balance.
And sometimes you drop a plate.
And sometimes you drop a plate, and that's okay. You sweep it up, start again tomorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, I guess one of the challenges that we've had is balancing what NDIS pays with what we can do. You know, we want people to be having the best experience they possibly can. Also, changes in NDIS are constant.
I was saying to somebody today on the phone, I said, what we know about the NDIS today, we won't know about the NDIS next week.
Absolutely.
That's how often and frequently it's changing and moving. And especially right now.
100%. And, you know, we don't want to be spending time on keeping up on all the changes NDIS are making. We want to be spending time connecting with the clients, connecting with the staff, making sure things are going the way people expect or would like them to be, within parameters, obviously. You know, trying to support people that might need a bit of extra support who are coming into the workforce. You know, we want to be spending time on that, connecting as a team. All important things.
All the stuff that really matters, right?
Yeah.
But also the stuff that isn't covered in the NDIS price guide, just for the record. Anyone who works in the system would know that too right now, which makes things really difficult.
So I'd say balance is the biggest challenge in all areas, balance.
Definitely. Has it been easier managing your pain and managing your disability, running your own business?
It has. It means that we all work from home in the office, so we don't have a physical office space where we all have to be from A to B hours.
Which is pretty good because I would be late every day. That was the case.
And look, we're all running off to appointments and things like that, and it works. It works. Everyone is looked after still. It means, though, that if I can't be sitting at an office desk all day, I can move to the couch or I can move to the bed. If I can't get out of bed because I've done something to my back that's going to take a few days to recover and I can't move, I can lay down and do it. I can work from wherever I need to work. And if I need to sort of adjust my hours a little bit because of something that's come up because of my condition, I can do that.
Yeah. It's that flexibility that you just cannot have if you're working for somebody else. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you did say that you allow that, and I can speak to experience with it, but you also allow that with the rest of your staff, with your admin and support team as well, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Look, we have a lot of people on our team who either have a disability or who are carers of someone with a disability, you know, or have other things going on in their life. And so we try to be as flexible as we can, and we try to make sure that people have the working life that works well with them and makes them want to keep working. And if someone has an appointment, they have an appointment. You know, if it's an appointment, they have to go. And we all know how hard it is to get a specialist appointment or even a doctor's appointment these days. It's
nearly impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
give people the flexibility and they will go the extra mile for you.
And if a client has to change hours around or change times around, you know, we do our best to accommodate that and make sure that they can still have the support that they need in the way that they need it. Because, again, they can't choose when they have their appointments. They don't get that option.
Is it hard? Is it hard to make these concessions for people?
Oh, yes. Yeah, look, it's challenging. It takes time. It takes a lot of extra time. It takes a lot of organisation and coordination. But at the same time, we find that people are much happier in general being able to do these things. You know, we know that the majority of the time people are asking for that time to be changed or that time off because they actually need it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
not
no one's
asking-
asking for fun, are they?
No, exactly right. Exactly right. So we go the extra mile to try to make sure we can accommodate that.
Yep. Excellent. No, and I can say I know this to be true because these accommodations have been made for me regularly and often. As a person who was working for a large organization before, who had to use all this sick leave and holiday leave and then non-paid days off because, something else will happen. And meant that I couldn't work very often, that I was really underemployed and underpaid. I couldn't even work full time because it meant that I had to be driving nearly 2 hours a day to sit in an office that would kill me and my pain and mean that I'd have to take more time off from sitting in traffic. So just wasn't conducive to being a good employee either. It just wasn't there. So being able to choose my hours to work around my family, to work from bed when I needed to work from bed meant that I could earn a living, an appropriate wage and support my own family. So thank you. I'm really grateful. I'm really, really grateful for that. It was life-changing stuff.
Look, I think I have worked for people in the past. I've worked for awesome bosses, but I've also worked for bosses that are like, no, like one of my jobs, I had my wisdom teeth out the day before and had to go in the very next day. I had 4
My
wisdom
goodness.
because we were moving to a new premises. So I had to help. But I promised myself I would never be that person if I was ever an employer of people.
Well,
Never.
good job. You have steered very clear away from that. So well done. I'm very impressed. And again, I can vouch for this personally. It really is true. Now, one of the best and most interesting things about MyPower Foundations is the fact that I think from a poll that was done not too long ago of your staff, I think it was over 80% of your staff either identify as having a disability or are a carer of somebody who has a disability. How did that happen? What was the reasoning behind that? What were your thoughts behind that? And how's it going?
Look, I think everybody, regardless of their ability, should have the option to being paid work. Absolutely everyone. And there should be some way
Paid
that
work
can
of
be
their
managed.
choice.
Correct. Correct. And I think the reason why it's worked so well is because of our flexibility in allowing people to take on the amount of work that they feel that they can manage, the times that they feel that they can manage, and the clients that they feel that they can manage, as long as the clients connect with that person. It's super important that there's a good relationship there. So if the client's not connecting, then obviously that's not going to work so well. So we look at it from both sides. What does the client need? What does the support worker need to help them both do well? So it's the flexibility and the understanding that people have different needs.
What are some of the challenges around it?
Again, the time.
Yeah. Just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, because we do have to swap and change things around a lot to accommodate people. So I think that's the biggest challenge. Also, getting to know a new client or a new worker and what their needs are and how they fit in to MyPower Foundations. There's always somewhere they fit, but how are they going to fit well? How are they going to fit in a way that they're happy to get up and come to work each day? What's going to work for them? I think that sort of has been a bit of a challenge too, because you don't know someone when they first start. So it can be a bit of a rocky road at first, and then eventually someone settles into a routine that's working.
But that, again, takes time, doesn't it? Getting to know people, giving them time to make mistakes and figure out what's going to work best for them is important. Why do you think that most other providers and businesses are not doing this as well? What do you think that MyPower does differently?
Maybe they think it's hard, or maybe they come from a background of, a different kind of business profession and business, and they think that's the way it has to run. There's many reasons, I think, or they just are set in their ways and don't want to change, or they don't see the value in it,
I think that and having worked in the industry myself for, I'm recording years, nearly, I have not had that inclusion and when we're working in community services, a very inclusive space that, talks a lot about inclusion and being there for people and making space for people with a disability. Yet I, as a worker, have never, ever been in a position where I was treated that way either. It was like there is one rule for the people that we support and there's one rule for the people that we work with. And I've never been able to find somebody that would offer that flexibility or that choice to their workers as well.
Look, I guess I've taken it from personal experience because not only do I have a disability, I have children with disabilities as well. And I've had to take a lot of time off to manage that. And the guilt I felt, regardless of whether my boss said it's okay or not, I still felt an enormous amount of guilt when I had to take time off.
But you're putting that work onto somebody else if you're not there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't want people to have to feel that way. Like I can't control another person's emotions, but I can try to make them know that they're as supported as possible in making those decisions that they have to make.
Yeah. Have you come across any stigma or any resistance from like the general public or from other clients? Have you come across anything like that in your work so far?
In terms of our flexibility and
In terms of having staff with a disability?
No.
No, not that I can think of either.
It's never been a thing.
And I think that says a lot about the culture of the company. If you've got, if you just make it a thing and not a big thing and it just is what it is, I think it removes a lot of the stigma because this is what real life looks like, right?
Absolutely.
This is what real life, we have a mixed bag of everybody, so ages, sizes, religions, neurodivergent, physical, all different things, just like life. And I think it's
how much fun is that?
Yeah, it's great. It's really exciting because you get a whole variety of people with some really amazing insight.
Exactly.
Really amazing insight. And I know particularly as a parent with a son who's mostly doesn't communicate verbally, when I can have really open conversations with staff that have autism who give me some amazing feedback and insight that I wouldn't have thought of. I find it thrilling and exciting. And even after 20 years of doing this, I learn something new every day, without question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it just makes the world more colourful.
It does. It does. It's pretty cool, isn't it? It's pretty cool. So what do you think the future holds for MyPower Foundations? What are your big plans? What's your big pie in the sky? No barriers. There's enough hours in the day. There's enough money in the bank. What would you love it to look like?
I've always said if I won the lottery and I had a heap of money, I would just send people if someone was desperate and just pay them. And I know that's not reality, but that's what I'd do. And I'd lose a whole heap of money. But anyway.
Because we do come across a lot of people that are missing out simply because the funding isn't there. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that's probably not good in the long run, but times where someone really needs a bit of extra help for a while, regardless, and they just can't have that funding for it. But I want to bring people together. I really want people to be a true part of the community, not just someone on the outskirts. Just one who you look at, and I've seen that person at the shop before, someone who has meaningful relationships with their communities.
Real relationships. Yeah.
Relationships.
Not just the paid relationships in the community.
Yes, absolutely. I want connection. I want people to really have the most out of life that they possibly can. And I think that we have created a small community here in MyPower Foundations where we have that, but they are paid. They are paid to do that. They are, they're not judgmental. They're open. They're accepting of everybody. And we've had a lot of social gatherings that have been really positive. And we've had people make friends out of that just by getting people together. So, that's what I really want MyPower Foundations to be, people participating.
Well, that's true active support, isn't it? When you've got people you're bringing people together so that they can make real connection outside of the people that are being paid to be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we're friendly, but we're not your friends, right?
Exactly.
So it's really important. Yeah. And that's pretty amazing. What else have you got in store for MyPower Foundations?
We have a lot of plans.
A lot of plans, enough time.
It's going off. But yeah, I would like to be doing the markets later on this year to be sort of grassroots, because I know the disability expos are there and people go to them and they're great and whatever. And we do meet a lot of people and it is a very beneficial day. But I want us to be seen in the community.
Now, in the actual local community where people are.
Yeah. We've got a garden that we're starting up at Memory House. We have a plot.
That's so exciting.
It is exciting and it's finally starting to move ahead. And I would love to have people just being able to turn up there and just enjoy the space and have events there and have gatherings there. And
do some planting, grow some things, grow some food.
Do some workshops, maybe learn how to make things that they can sell themselves. It's got so many benefits that it can make to someone. Being outside, it improves your mental health.
It improves mental health tenfold.
Learning how to grow food means that you're not always having to rely on having enough money to scrape by because you've got some food in the backyard. You've got something there that you wouldn't have to buy at the shops. Learning how to eat healthier and choose healthy foods and not be afraid of them because you don't have anything to do with them. If you're planting them and looking after them, and then it's a really good way to introduce people to those foods and hopefully get them to taste it one day. The community connection again comes in there. Workshops to teach people how to make things or to teach people about being able to do this at home. So many options.
Really exciting. And just the benefit of being outside and getting your hands in the soil, the rewards that come from that for people's mental health is huge. And also is a really great antidote to isolation as well, which people are experiencing quite significantly now more than ever. I think since COVID, it's not really recovered from that level of isolation that people experienced in that time.
Yeah. And the fantastic thing about the community garden down at Memory House, the plot that we have, is there are a lot of people that have plots down there. I have not met one person that doesn't walk by you and smile and say hello and stop for a conversation. So I'm really...
Well, they've got the same interest as you. They're there to garden and they're there to show what they can do. They love to be on the land. They love to, get their hands in the soil. So you're right in it amongst the right community, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so the more people you can introduce to that, the better, because that will expand then their network and their knowledge. That's all it really is. It really is. We overcomplicate support a lot, really, don't we? At the end of the day, it's just connecting people with the same interests and in the same place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be hard. And I think we make it harder than it has to be sometimes. Look, if I can get you to leave the people listening to the podcast or watching this today a message about navigating business, running a business and a disability, what would it be? What would be the one thing that you'd want to tell somebody, or one of the many things that you'd like to tell somebody about having a disability and running a business?
Make sure you've got supportive people backing you. If you have supportive people backing you, you can do anything you want to do. Anything. Whether that's paid supports or whether that's unpaid supports, make sure you've got people that have your back and that can hold you up in those times that are hard. It does get hard. It's not easy all the time. And it does get quite challenging. But just make sure there's someone there that can egg you on and that can encourage you and that can hold you up on those days that you're down and that can cheer you on those days that you're flying ahead. I think that's the most important thing in business.
Yeah, surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, doesn't it?
And find something you love and that you're interested in, because if you have that, it won't be like you're working.
Yeah, you don't mind working. Obviously, if you work for somebody else, you work 40 hours. If you work for yourself, you work 24/7. But you don't seem to mind because you love it, right? It's a bit strange how that happens. I mean, I will never work 40 hours a week for somebody else, but damn, I'll work 24/7 for myself. It's just really weird, isn't it?
And eventually you may get to a point where you can say, I'm having a day off now and then.
Imagine that. But again, only if you've got the right supportive people around you, right? Yeah. You've got to have the right team and the right people and all that stuff. It makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So where can people find MyPower Foundations? How can they connect with you? How can they if they need support, if they're looking for social and community access, or they're looking for daily living support, how can they find MyPower Foundation?
You can find MyPower Foundations on all the social medias. If you just do a search, MyPower Foundations, it's all one
Don't
word.
forget the S.
So MyPower is all one word, and Foundations has an S on the end.
Yes.
They can email us at support@mypowerfoundations.com.au, or they can give us a call on 0247 113 144.
Oh, you remember that off the top of your head? I never would have done that. I don't know anybody's number off by heart, but I'll make sure that I add all of the social media links, the email links, and the phone number into the show notes as well. So people will be able to click the links under there, and I'll also link on the social media too. So if you're looking for a great support worker in the Blue Mountains, Hawkesbury, Nepean area, all the way out to Blacktown, aren't you? As well, and home of the mountains to
Blacktown, and
Lithgow.
we've moved out to Lithgow, and we're hoping to increase our Lithgow as well. We'd really love to be able to support some families out there and then beyond. So out west, I think, is our next mission.
That's very exciting. Well, I'll make sure all of that information is in the show notes so that everyone can contact you and drop you guys a line and see how you can support them in their own community. Thank you so much, Kylie, for taking the time to be here on your birthday, no less, and having this conversation with me. I really appreciate, number one, I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate you giving me a shot and not telling me to go away when I said that this is a really good idea and you should do it. Thousands would have told me to get lost. I really appreciate you taking it on board and taking me on board and allowing me to start my career as well.
Oh, look, thank you for having me on today and having you by my side all those years. It's just been phenomenal. I would never have learned all the things I've learned or experienced all the experiences I've had without you there. So
yeah,
thank you.
Anytime. My pleasure. All right. Thank you all. And we will look forward to hearing from you in the next podcast. See you later, guys. Bye.